He is Derek Wayne, born 24 years ago in the sea-level lands of Florida. He is knowledgeable, and he is not alone. For several years he has waited for the time of the ranting, when the stroke of a sword and the fall of a head will release the power of the assassinating. In the end, there can only be one.
Hey, remember the movie Highlander? Isn't that just like a fun movie? It's really intriguing and interesting and original. Immortals fighting through the centuries, chopping their heads off, that's the only way they can die. It's pretty cool. But come on, it has good acting, it has good Queen music, and it has an ending, because the ending is Christopher Lambert, Connor MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod. He is the last immortal, and because he's the last immortal, he has this, like, bond if he's one with all thoughts of human, whatever, ambiguous. But he's also mortal, so it's over, so there was no real reason to have a sequel. Yet they made a sequel, Highlander 2, The Quickening. And just from looking at that theatrical poster of them standing back to back, you know we're heading for rough waters. So anyway, let's look at Highlander 2, The Quickening. So the movie starts and not really sure why we need to know that it's August 1999.
Today's top story is the ozone layer. It continues to disintegrate, taking with it our protection from the sun's rays.
The ozone layer has been destroyed, the sun's killing us all, and wait a minute, Connor MacLeod's a scientist now, and alright, none of his lives living throughout the ages in the first film clearly showed us that he was a genius and that he knows how to build a shield to block the sun's radiation. Wait a minute, if they block the sun, we're all gonna die. That makes no sense whatsoever. Anyway, 25 years later in 2024, God, he looks like Vigo the Carpathian. Alright, this doesn't make any sense. You know what? I'm not even gonna watch this movie anymore.
Remember, Highlander. Remember your home. Another galaxy. You were chosen. Remember?
Yes. Yes, I remember. The beginning. 500 years ago. On the planet Zeist. We planned rebellion.
Wait a minute! What? Aliens? What? Wait a minute, this doesn't make any... Okay. 500 years ago on the planet Zeist, so I don't even know what's going on here. So, Ramirez is the leader of this rebellion on an alien planet, and he's gonna pick a new leader, and it's MacLeod, and he tells him that he's gonna experience the quickening. Okay, the quickening in the first movie was whenever you chopped off an immortal's head, you got their life force, their power, their energy. That was the quickening. Now all of a sudden it's two guys sticking their hands in a bowl of dishwater. That makes no sense. And while we're at it, aliens, when did Highlander have to do with aliens? And wait a minute, wasn't Ramirez Egyptian? But apparently Ramirez is a Zeistian alien name. And so is MacLeod? It's not Scottish, it's Zeistian. Okay, that makes no sense. So, there's this rebellion against Katana. He's named after a sword. Really? We couldn't think of a cleverer name than General Katana?
General Katana.
Anyway, MacLeod must be some crappy leader of a rebellion, because everyone's just dropping like flies. So, they're caught, and then they're sentenced to Earth?
You will be sent to the planet Earth.
What?
Once there, you will be immortal.
Wait a minute, so they're aliens who are mortal, and being sentenced to Earth, they're gonna be immortal, and if they chop off their heads, then they can claim the prize and come back to... Okay, this clearly was not the premise of the first movie. This clearly is making up its own logic, and plus, Ramirez and MacLeod clearly met each other for the first time in Highlander. Anyway, back to 2024, and there's this rogue group that knows that the S.H.I.E.L.D. Corporation is evil, and they can prove it because this lady, who's a scientist, I'm guessing, knows that the S.H.I.E.L.D. levels are normal. So, wait a minute, the company's just trying to extort everybody, and what does this have to do with Highlander? I don't know what's going on. Anyway, they're talking. Cut back to the planet Zeist, and there's General Katana. Wait a minute. 500 years ago is when General Katana was supposedly doing all this. Shouldn't he be dead? Or is it... Or am I not getting this? Is 500 years on Earth different than 500 years on Zeist? Is that like 5 hours? 2 weeks? Anyway, General Katana says this.
Find McCloud and kill him.
And then the porcupine henchman guy says this.
But I thought you said McCloud was mortal and can never return.
He figured out a plot hole! He realized that this movie's not literally making any sense and shouldn't even be continued. Anyway, these porcupine guys come to Earth to fight McCloud, and Jesus, what is that? What is that? And honestly, here's the best line in the whole movie.
McCloud!
McCloud! Okay, from now on, we're no longer calling him McCloud. It's McCloud! So McCloud goes fighting these guys, and okay, to make a long story short, he decapitates one of them, so he experiences the quickening, because I'm guessing he's immortal now. I'm not really following it. But anyway, the quickening was, in the first movie, a quick little energy explosion thing, and, you know, whatever. What, is everything in sight loaded with C4? Why is everything exploding? And why is he all of a sudden young again? If he's immortal just because the two porcupine guys came, killing one of them and getting the quickening, that wouldn't make him younger. It was just he'd be immortal. He'd be that same age. Okay, I'm thinking too logically here. Anyway, he kills the other one, and then he screams Ramirez's name.
Ramirez!
And suddenly Ramirez comes back to life in Scotland. Why? He clearly died in Highlander. Why is he back other than they're paying him millions of dollars to make this sequel credible, I guess? I don't know, but it doesn't make any sense. And honestly, the whole scene that he comes back in is so bad. Like, just look at it.
Here hung those lips that I have kissed I know not how oft.
Sir, whatever you gentlemen felt for each other when your friend was still alive is certainly none of my affair.
I'm sure William Shakespeare recomposed just to die so he could roll over in his grave after that one. Anyway, McCloud, he and the girl, now that he's young again, just have sex out of nowhere, basically, and start making out. So anyway, she tries to figure out how this movie makes sense. Listen.
You come from another planet, and you're mortal there, but you're immortal here until you kill all the guys from there who have come here, and then you're mortal here. Unless you go back there, or some more guys from there come here, in which case you become immortal here. Again.
Something like that.
Even she can't make this movie make sense. She doesn't even figure it out. If the characters in this whole movie can't figure out how this makes any sense, then literally the audience is going to be just as clueless as the characters. Ugh. Anyway, so General Katana realizes that if you want something done, you gotta do it yourself. So he comes to Earth, and he crashes in the subway, and then says this.
This sure doesn't look like Kansas, does it?
Okay, how does he know what Kansas is? Do they teach Earth culture and history and just geography of Earth, I guess, on Zeist? Or does he have a copy of The Wizard of Oz and he watches that on weekends on Zeist? I'm not really sure. Anyway, he takes control of the train for no reason, just to do this.
Last stop.
Literally, that made no sense. Anyway, we cut to McCloud looking at his wife's grave, but we're not really clear, who is this? Is this Heather from the first one? Is it the girl he was with at the end of the first one? We're not really sure who this is. Anyway, Katana comes out, and he basically tells McCloud that you're not going back to Zeist. And then McCloud says,
I was ready to kick back, crawled, and die. Then you send those punks down here. You changed everything. And now I'm back to square one, immortal, again.
See, even he points out to Katana that none of this makes any sense. And then Katana brings up a point from the first movie about how they...
Never fight on holy ground.
Okay. Why? I guess in the first movie, I guess it worked because, you know, it's mysterious. Ooh, they can't find a holy ground. But they're aliens! Why would they... Are they religious aliens? Why would they care about our customs of religion and holy ground if they're aliens from another planet? And then, of course, General Kitana then says this great line.
Ashes to ashes. Dust to dust. If you don't take it out and use it, it's going to rust.
I sure hope he's talking about a sword, because... whatever. Anyway, Ramirez is just walking through the streets and decides he wants a suit. He gives the owner of the store a pearl earring, and that's enough to get him a whole suit. That earring must be worth like $500,000. Anyway, for some reason, he gets on a flight to go somewhere, I guess. This is so convoluted and complex, I don't care. Anyway, Kitana then goes to see the head of the S.H.I.E.L.D. Corporation. I'm not really sure why or how he knows any of this, but he goes to see the head of the S.H.I.E.L.D. Corporation, and it's the great John C. McGinley, who then has General Kitana killed.
Yes! You know, guys, this is no way to treat your #1 draft choice.
How does he know what draft picks are? What? Do they get the NFL Network on Zeist? Do they play Madden 12 on Zeist? What is this?
What exactly is it that you want? Partner?
The Highlander.
If they're aliens, why are they the Highlander? Why is he a Highlander? Is it the Highlander of the Zeistian Mountains? Because it's not the Highlands of Scotland, because you're saying that he was a Highlander before he went to Scotland. Okay, alright, my brain is just exploding. Anyway, John C. McGinley gets the buddy of McLeod. He captures him and whatever, and then all of a sudden Ramirez shows up and has a little friendly fight with McLeod. And then they basically realize, oh, they gotta destroy the shield. Oh man, this movie just won't end.
Well, well, well. Like a high school reunion down there.
Did he just say, just like a high school reunion? How does he... Whatever, he knows what a high school reunion is. There's high schools on Zeist. What isn't on Zeist? I don't know. So, they're caught in a room with a fan, and blah, 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 blah. He has magical Scotsman powers. Okay, so Sean Connery sacrifices his life and dies. Again. Anyway, then John C. McGinley says this.
Yes, it looks as though you f***ed up, eh, partner?
Which leads to this. He crushed his balls and threw him out a window, and he became the most dummiest dummy you will ever see in the history of movies. Let's look at that dummy again. Oh my god, that was... Anyway, McLeod appears to be wearing different clothing, and Kitana all of a sudden doesn't have his hair in a ponytail, and they proceed to have this really ridiculous fight that looks to be happening in a different location. McLeod falls down an elevator shaft, and Kitana sort of acts like they'll see each other again later, and then all of a sudden we cut back to Lady just standing with a machine gun getting shot at, and then we cut to McLeod back in the outfit he was in the scene before the last scene, and Kitana back with his hair in a ponytail, and all of a sudden McLeod has his katana. Not Kitana's katana, his katana, because he had a katana and whatever. Anyway, so then they start fighting, and then... Yay, he killed him. I know I'm asking questions that shouldn't be asked, but literally, that was the quickening, the little, okay, that was the quickening. So, if he's mortal now, because all the aliens are dead and he's mortal, him just walking into that shield, wouldn't that kill him? Because the quickening already happened, so you can't say, oh, no, that's the quickening blowing the thing up. The quickening happened, he just going, a little bit, and, you know, he should be dead. So, it blows up, and everyone's, like, happy, and then Sean Connery lets us out with a great voiceover.
Remember, Highlander, you've both still got your full measure of life. Use it well, and your future will be glorious.
And then it ends like an episode of the A-Team. All that's missing is the executive producer credit. This is terrible. This movie's just awful. It is ridiculous, stupid, and honestly, it didn't happen. It was just air. Air. It was a figment of imagination. Because Highlander 3, even though that's terrible, acts as if this one didn't happen. So if movies can act like it didn't happen, then I guess it didn't happen. Just like Superman 3. Speaking of Superman 3...
It sounds like magic.
Oh, it is? Kind of.